Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of the Meaning You Give It podcast. My name is Victoria, but everybody calls me Vicky. That's just how I roll, so we'll go with that. So you might be thinking, who am I and what am I doing here and why you should be listening to me? The truth is, I'm just a normal human. I'm a human that's been through quite a lot in her life from an early age. I'm not saying I've been through more or less than you have. I'm just saying that I've seen some stuff, I've heard some stuff, and I've learned from it. Whether you choose to listen to me or not, that is up to you. So that's why I'm here. I would like to share my knowledge, my experiences, and my life lessons with you and everybody so that you can either, just make it easier on yourself and not make these mistakes, or learn from them, which will also make it easier for closure, for example. Or at least just to tell you that you're not alone, that there's probably more than just myself going through this, and there's a lot of people in the world that struggle with a lot of things, but quite a few of them we have in common, so at least you will know you're not alone. So for the first episode, I will make it nice and easy. I will talk about being positive and being negative. So how many of you realize that it takes the exact same amount of energy to be negative and positive? Because it's quite a simple thing if you think about it, all it takes is just to think positive thoughts, not just the negative ones. But many people don't think it's that easy because they've been programmed, they've been designed from a very early on, like from newborn basically, to be negative, to look at the problems, not the solutions, to think about the bad, not learn and think and, create something good from it. Every experience is somehow designed to make them suffer and, the whole world is just here to torture us. It's not like that. The reason why I called this podcast Meaning You Give It is because the world and almost everything in it is subjective. It can be interpreted in many different ways. You can get hit by a bus tomorrow and be like, oh my God, this was the worst experience. I thought I was going to die. And of course, you're in physical pain. You've been hurt. But then in 10 years, you can either be, oh my God, I've never forget this, this crappy thing happened to me, and why me? Why is the universe or God or wherever you believe in, why is it making me, suffer? And why did it make me da-da-da? Because of this, I lost my promotion, right? But from the other's perspective, you could be like, I'm so thankful that this happened because even though I've been through a lot of pain, it taught me to be more patient. It made me, more resilient. It helped me notice that I wasn't spending as much time with my family as I should have. Thanks to, passing on that promotion, I was able to go on vacation with my family. I was able to spend more time with my kids. I was able to, go on that holiday we've always wanted. I was able to show them attention, show them that I care. And my marriage has never been better. And my kids and I'm so close with my kids that there's so many different ways that you could look at something and just expect the worst or the best. I'm pretty sure it's this super famous quote, are you a half glass, full or empty kind of guy? And for most of my life, I've always believed that I was at a disadvantage. I was always the half glass empty kind of person, it was never enough. Nothing I did ever mattered. Nothing was blah, blah, blah. I can't exactly point a finger and say this is the moment that changed my life. But I know that personal development was definitely a big part of why I am the way I am today. And I know it's not always easy, right? Because most of us probably have parents, who raised us in a way that's don't touch this, it's too hot. Don't do this is too risky. Don't be over your head. Make sure you have both feet on the ground. Don't be a dreamer. Don't do this. Don't be an astronaut, don't be a princess. And, everyone goes through that stage. We have these dreams and passions and things that excite us, and they just get crumbled and pushed into a closet, and the door gets closed and you never look into it again because life happens, right? And we usually just say that, like, life happens. I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have this. But all of it comes down to the way that we've been raised, because if you don't have any positive thoughts and that's, you know, from our parents, if we're never told that we are good enough, that we are brave, that we are able to do whatever and achieve whatever we want, we just end up being average. And how many of you would like to be average for the rest of your life? I mean, it's not a bad place to be. It's neither outside of your comfort zone, but it's not down in the dumps either. So it's a good point, right? And I thought that as well. But then you get this one moment in your life where things just change. You see something, you read something, you speak to someone, you hear something on the radio, and it clicks. There's a little aha moment. And you're like, aha, I didn't know I could do that. Aha, I didn't know that was possible. And all of a sudden you realize that there's these little things in your head that you can exercise, that you can make them function. Your ego, the worst part that's killing you, that you can flip it. You can change things to be more positive. You really can change your thinking no matter how old you are. You just have to work on it. Now, we say that being positive takes the same amount of energy as being negative, but fighting your ego to think positively rather than negatively, challenging up here, that's a little bit more time consuming. It's not that easy because you're used to thinking a certain way about the world. Your point of view limits to just being, it's not my fault, I'm not one to blame, no responsibility for your actions. Life happened to you. You didn't create it. It just happened. And you go from that state to saying to yourself, no, from now on, I'm going to take the responsibility for my life. I'm going to take responsibility for my actions. And most importantly, I'm going to take responsibility for what's up here. When you control your thinking, when you stop these negative thoughts, you give yourself the chance to change your life. How many of you realize that it's what you think up here that then comes out and creates your life? If you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right either way. That is also a very famous quote. I don't know who said it. So if we know that creating your life in a I can attitude can give you success, and I can't attitude will give you a failure, then why set yourself up for failure? Everybody who you get advice from has their own experience in life. It's either bad or good. It either came from the I can or the I can't attitude. Now, if you take that advice, remember, it is subjective. It is only based on that person's experience. If they've never achieved anything in life, they've failed in businesses, they don't have a very good marriage or love life, remember that their advice is only based on their circumstances, right? So before we end this episode, I would also like to mention that, we are basically the mix of our parents and their life experiences, because they're the ones who brought us up from being newborns, right? Well, that's all you've ever known. Your parents, your family, how they live and what they have translate into your life, because, well, how else can you know anything else? You don't know a better life. You don't know if it's good or bad. That's just what you grew up with. But then you start going to school, peer pressure starts, and you start thinking, what should I do with my life? And then the next thing that happens is 5 people that are closest to you when you get older, when you go into your 20s, you start becoming them. You might not be your parents anymore. You grew up. But now you're the mix of 5 personalities and who you are now. Are you happy? Do you have really good friends who push you and challenge you and make you happy, make you smile? Or are those 5 people closest in your life people that tear you down, people that don't believe in you, people that give you bad habits? It's all up to you. This is where we have to consciously think not only of our thoughts, but of our environment. We have to think about who we hang out with, what they say, because words are really, really important. They are. You might not believe this, but what you say is what you think, and what you think is what you feel, and what you feel is what you start acting like, and then how you act creates your habits, and then that creates your life. So next time you hang out with your friends, think about what they say, how they act, and if that's who you would like to become. Okay, so this is the end of the first episode of the Meaning You Give It podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you some insights. If you want to see more, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, make sure to follow. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Take care. That's a wrap. Thank you.